This is it. The end is nigh. A single foe stands between us and victory. Tonight we will either prove our steel soul, or fall and start all over again. Or reset when things look dicey, but anyway. The titular Hollow Knight may be looking a little bit worse for wear, but he is still the final boss, and he'll prove it. His HP is a little weird. When it reaches 0 for the first time, he immediately heals 250. Functionally, this is barely different than just having 1250 HP, but that's an awful lot. 4 phases is also significant among bosses. He enters his second phase at 750 HP, his third at 400, and his final starts after reaching 0 and he regains that 250. Now, a staggering 10 attacks. Good Godseeker. Okay, starting with the triple slash. The lunge. The counter stance. The jump. The infectious outburst. The infernal plunge. Desperation. The marionette slam. The outbreak. And the faltering slash. The triple slash is only used by the Hollow Knight in phases 1 and 2. You'll notice that each of his phases are extremely distinct from one another. The triple slash is probably the Hollow Knight's most threatening attack, as it comes out quite fast and has a rather imposing hitbox. This attack is going to be very punishing if you play highly aggressively, as its telegraph is almost too short to react to if you're busy attacking him. However, if you play a little passively, you can safely dodge this attack by either jumping or retreating. If you are buried nail deep in his hitbox though, a reactive Shade Cloak dash can also get you safely out of its way. But just like with the Watcher Knights, it's not safe to over-rely on the Shade Cloak, as he often attacks faster than it recharges and you may be lacking it when you need it most. The lunge is practically an old friend of ours at this point, and I have officially run out of ways to say jump over it and land a nail pogo. Or hey, you can also shadow dash, but go back like 10 seconds because the same warning that I gave about using that to dodge the triple slash very much applies here as well. The counter stash is one we've seen just once before, from Hornet. It works almost identically. He will ready his nail extremely fast, and if you hit him in this stance, he won't take damage and will respond with a large slash. This is another way that he can punish overly aggressive play, but if you're playing more carefully, you should be able to avoid triggering the counter without much effort. If you do happen to trigger it though, you'll essentially need the Shade Cloak to avoid it consistently, because it goes much further than Hornet's. The jump is much of what we've come to expect from such things, though it seems to have a very harsh limit on its range. As such, this is one jump I generally recommend retreating away from rather than beneath, though it's slow enough that both are options. Those are the only attacks that he'll use in Phase 1. In Phase 2, he'll begin attacking more frequently, and add 2 more attacks. The Infectious Outburst is a rather tricky set of projectiles to avoid. One of the best things you can hope to do is get yourself behind the Hollow Knight at the very start of this attack and just wail on him. But he tends to teleport to a spot far from you before doing this, and that's not always an option. This is the main attack I like to keep my Shade Cloak charged for. Slipping through the gaps between the blobs is possible, perhaps. Even easy if you run as far away from him as you can get, but it's effortless to slip through with the Shadow Dash and get in some damage. The Infernal Plunge is extremely threatening, as these pillars of fire deal 2 damage. Avoid them at any cost, even if it means running into the Hollow Knight and taking 1 damage instead of 2. That shouldn't be necessary though, as they do appear pretty slowly and give plenty of time to settle yourself in a safe spot between the flames. Mind you don't dash in order to dodge, or you're more likely to just dash right into a flame anyway. The big guy himself also isn't much of a problem, as his hitbox here is surprisingly small. Just don't get cocky with this one. It's a good time to take a break from slashing so you don't take that much untoward damage. Now, Phase 3 is where things get, well, desperate. The Hollow Knight always begins this phase with desperation, in attack where he repeatedly impales himself with his own nail before falling down, staggered. I've looked into it, and despite what is very clearly a damage-taking animation, I don't believe this actually hurts the Hollow Knight at all. In fact, while he does this attack, any damage he takes is reduced to 1, so attacking him here is almost pointless. It's almost like an invitation to heal, since it follows up with him being staggered. Needless to say, I don't feel like I have to explain how to dodge this one. As for the rest of Phase 3, if the repeated acts of seppuku weren't enough indication, the fight becomes significantly easier from here on out. With the Hollow Knight no longer using triple slash, his attacks becoming less frequent, and he begins teleporting and jumping a lot less. He does, however, add yet more attacks to his repertoire, starting with the Marionette Slam. Dodging this attack requires taking advantage of the Hollow Knight's momentum and dodging back and forth. If you keep going in just one direction, he can lead you, so double back every time he starts a slam and you should be alright. The Outbreak is very possibly the most projectiles spawned by any single attack. It's like 138, I counted. However, it's actually pretty simple, because every blob essentially flies in the same 3 basic directions: off to the left, to the right, or straight down. So, that leaves some pretty glaring safe spots directly diagonally down from the Hollow Knight, to the point that you could even heal when he does this, or better yet, unload hundreds of damage with your Abyss Shriek. That should carry you pretty quickly to the 4th and final phase, where he is a shadow of the foe he started out as. At this point, he only uses 3 attacks: Desperation, the Marionette Slam, and his final attack, the Faltering Slash. The Faltering Slash is essentially the first third of the Triple Slash, but instead of following through, he falls to his knees, staggered. Even if he hits you with this one, you'll still be able to heal it off immediately, so don't even worry about it. Now, our game plan here is going to change dramatically as the phases progress. The first phase is quite threatening due to the sheer frequency with which he uses Triple Slash. You may have noticed that he has only one attack that can threaten you if you're airborne though, that being the jump, which he uses quite rarely in phase 1. However, even though this makes nail pogoing pretty safe, trying to actually stay on top of him makes this fight needlessly difficult, as he's still quite quick and eager to not be directly beneath you. So here's the deal. We're going to approach this fight with a nice ebb and flow of attacks. Get in one attack and immediately jump away. This is the most consistent means by which you can avoid the Triple Slash while also being totally safe from the others. As long as you're already jumping, you're in the perfect position to counter both the lunge and the Triple Slash with the nail pogo, and as long as you're not just mindlessly slashing away, his counter won't catch you unawares. Phase 2 is where things get tricky, but the same strategy works just as well. Just remember to save your Shadow Dash for the Infectious Outburst, and avoid the Flame Pillars at any cost. In Phase 3, we get to stop tiptoeing around. He slows down, stops using Triple Slash, and thanks to Desperation and the subsequent stagger, begins to spend a lot less of the fight attacking you. So our new strategy is going to be one of unrelenting offense. Without Triple Slash, he doesn't really have anything with a markedly low telegraph, and thanks to Desperation, we have tons of opportunity to build up soul and to heal. So at this point, we can pretty much just let loose, dodge everything that's easy to see coming, and heal off anything that isn't. In Phase 4, the fight is already over. Marionette Slam is honestly her only real attack, and the rest is the Hollow Knight helping us on our way. And with only 250 health to go, well, all I can tell you is, finish strong. You've earned it.
Alright, final boss down. No more boss Blitz, right? Yeah, we all know that's not true. I'll see you guys next time for a pretty easy one. Marmot.